Hey, hey, I'm alive. I'm alive. I'm alive. I think I need a jingle to jingle me into the lives. I'm a bit manic tonight, guys, for many, many reasons. So I'm going to set some ground rules tonight. I hope you can hear me. This is an enormous microphone in order to try and help me get the sound a bit better when I'm using my laptop. My phone has proved to be unreliable at the moment, so I'm looking at changing that to get better video and sound. In the meantime, big microphone. So it's been a day today. Don't know what you've been doing today, but I'm going to share what I've been doing. I have been at the hospital all day. Gary's unwell. Again, he's got a pretty horrendous bug in his chest. So I had to take him into the hospital this morning at 6 a.m., which means I had to get up at 5 a.m. So I've worked from the hospital today, which is what I always do if I have to go down there, because I'm down there for so long and he's in and out of so many departments having so many tests. So yeah, that's been most of my day. So the ground rules are, you can't make fun of my hair because I've had to have a nana nap when I came home. That they're keeping Gary in for a few days, by the way, so I'm on my own and lonely. So if you can say hi, I love you, Mandy, or hello, you're not alone, that would be really nice. Yeah, I've come home really tired, had a nana nap, and been out and got fish and chips for me and Dan. And I'm talking about starving artist syndrome tonight. I'm hardly that, am I? Anyway, ground rules are, I'm a little bit donnered still. That's a Northumbrian word, not quite with it. But I'm here and I've got a good subject to talk about, which I love talking about stuff like this. So I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I've got some notes. So if I'm looking down at the notes, and it would be good actually, if anyone joins, just give me a thumbs up and let me know you can hear me with my large microphone. Yeah, I've got some notes tonight just so that I don't go off subject or that I don't give you wrong figures. It's not a boring old preachy live. It never is with me, is it? Anyway, tonight and all this week, I'm talking about starving artist syndrome. I don't even know whether that's a thing. I kind of just made it up. I've never really Googled it to see if it exists or not. If it does, okay, I hold my hands up, but I didn't steal it. I actually just kind of sat and wrote SAS. That's a good acronym. What can I fit into that? Aha. What do I want to talk about this week? How artists do not earn their worth. Artists, creatives, and particularly female artists and creatives. So I wanted to talk about that all week this week. So I set it as my intent and then sat down and started to write some notes. This is what I do every week, by the way. I sit down and think, what do I want to talk about next week? In fact, I normally do a month and look at my topics for the month, and I sit down and think, what do I want to talk about? How do I want to bring some new information, some learning, and some tips to my audience that can help them? That's kind of the intent behind it. So I can't see anybody on here at all. So I'm either completely on my own, which is fine. I just keep talking. You can watch it on replay. Or Facebook is doing silly buggers as usual. So I just keep talking. I'm in my fleecy shirt, by the way, because it was really cold when I woke up. Because it's a bit colder today. And I think it's because I've been at the hospital all day. Anyway. Stop chattering on now and start talking about starving artist syndrome. Yesterday I shared with you some of the statistics, and the statistics confirmed when I looked them up exactly what I already knew, that it's difficult to get into the creative space. Now it is anyway. This is what I trained for. I went to uni and I trained to be a creative, and I'm saying a creative because I wasn't just an artist, you know. Yes, I did fine art. I also did tapestry. I did sculpture. I did screen printing, and I did fabric and textile design. I did lots of different things until I found what I really, really loved. And then you specialize in something. It's like anything. You become a specialist in what it is you want to do. And mine was painting. Could have been anything. could have been a sculptor. I could have been a photographer. I could have been a graphic designer. Well, I couldn't in those days. I could have, but it wasn't the same as it is now. So you go into that and you do your degree, and it's a fantastic place where you've got everything at your fingertips to be creative with. You've got life models provided for you, all the equipment that you need, fantastic lectures, great studios to do things in. It's an amazing place. And then you go out into the real world and think, right, where am I going to find a job? How am I going to find a job? And it didn't work out that way. And it's that case for a lot of people, but not everybody. Many people come out with an art degree and find a job in something artistic or creative. That doesn't mean that they're happy and doing what they really love, because artists are really creative thinkers, and they're really creative in what they do. But many of them end up in jobs that don't pay their worth. Many of them end up running businesses. I've got a like there. Does that mean you can hear me? That's good. I've got one like. It means there's one person there. It's probably my mother. Yeah, artists end up usually not earning their worth, in underpaid jobs, in jobs that don't actually offer them the opportunity to be as great as they are and show their real genius, or in small businesses just creating product and selling small amounts of products. Yeah, there's a few that make it big, and there are a few that really make it big. What happens is, normally, you have to be part of this artistic society and hang out with the artists and be measured and critiqued and admired by the Creative Arts Society and be a member of the Creative Arts. It's almost like an old boys club. I'm just going to call it out. It really is. But then there's a lot of creatives that are actually quite maverick, and they're creative for a reason, and they want to be individual and not controlled by these art societies that say what's good and what's not good, and that say what people want and what people don't want. But that's also driven by society. And society has created a subtle set of sabotaging beliefs that have taken root in the creative community without deliberation and without approval from the people that are within that community. And those subtle set of sabotaging beliefs are that you must conform and be a member of this creative society, or you are not going to get paid a lot of money, and you're going to end up in a job that doesn't pay you your worth, or you're going to have a business that's just small. When Banksy came along, I was inspired and thought, great, there's a maverick coming along to say art is more than that. And there's been a lot, like Andy Warhol and the French Impressionists. But are you listening to the Andy Warhol and the French Impressionists and Banksy and Picasso? Can you hear a woman's name in there anywhere? How many women artists do you know that have been that successful in their lifetime? There are very, very few. There are some, but they are few and far between. So that was the theme of this week. When I looked and delved into the facts and figures to back up what I was saying, I knew what I was saying was right because I felt it as a creative. So starving artist syndrome applies to a lot of creative people, but particularly women. It's a 60-40 split for those people that are on record as being creatives, 60% men, 40% women, but actually the split is much bigger than that, because that doesn't include all those creative mums or creative women that are working from home, just making things, making beautiful things. They're not included in those statistics because they're not acknowledged for what their genius is. Also, what's not acknowledged is unregistered small creative businesses. So your little potter in the middle of Scotland somewhere, and I've been to a few of them in my time, and I will drive out of my way to find them because you find the best stuff there. Honestly, you really do. And they might not be registered, and they're not included in those statistics either. And on average, women earn around $20,000. These are US figures, I know, but it's very similar in the UK, and it's very, very similar throughout all of the creative community. So on average, women earn around $20,000 less than men. They get less benefits. They get penalized when they have children. Men get boosted when they become husbands and fathers, but women not. And it's actually probably worse in the creative community than anywhere else. So do you know what that does? That's where these sabotaging beliefs that are perpetuated come from. Because your artists hide in little cottages or little workshops in the middle of nowhere, creating a small amount of stuff and selling it at probably nowhere near its worth in order to make a meager living. And actually, society almost expects that to continue. Society expects it. Listen to that. Society almost expects it to continue. And do you know why? Have you ever been into a gallery or a little creative shop and looked around and thought, that's too expensive? Or have you looked at a painting, admired it, and then looked at the price tag at £300 or £400 and thought, God, I'm not paying that. I can go and buy a print from Wayfair for 20 quid. Yeah, you can, but it won't be an original piece made by somebody from their heart and soul. And that original piece still probably won't even be a fraction of the cost. So let me ask you a question. Would you go to work for 60 hours a week, 60 hours a week to produce one thing? Because that's normally, if you look at the painting behind me though, that's probably 60 to 80 hours work going to go into that. From the original idea and sketching it up to getting it to canvas to completing it, yeah? Would you then expect me to sell that for, say, 150 quid? Because a lot of artists do this, by the way, produce something that takes them hours and hours and hours and sell it for 50 quid, 100 quid, 100, and people go, oh, that's expensive. It's nowhere near expensive. But that's the sabotaging belief that society has perpetuated. And we continue to perpetuate that when we don't actually acknowledge the value of what people do. And yet, we will mass produce dodgy looking pieces, ornaments, prints, and things that look nice, yeah, mass produced. Go into IKEA, and I used to work for IKEA, and I love IKEA, but it's mass produced, it's mass produced design, yeah, and people will buy it en masse, yet will not spend a good amount of money on something really decent from their home. And that's just the way it is. So to remove yourself from starving artist syndrome, you have to think of different ways of creating wealth as an artist that underpins what you do as your area of genius. And this is where I have stepped into the creative space and said, do you know what? Artists need to start thinking like business people. Being an entrepreneur and being an artist are two completely different things. They are so different. I can't even tell you how different they are, because actually a great entrepreneur can take a piece of art made by somebody else and make good money from it and probably turn it into several income streams. Yet an artist can produce 100 pieces of original work and not make as much money as the entrepreneur has. So what needs to happen? Does the entrepreneur need to become an artist, or does the artist need to become an entrepreneur? And this is kind of the underlying message from all the posts that I will be making this week, because I want all of those creative people that are watching my lives, that are interacting with me, to understand the core difference between your area of genius and making money. They can be combined and fused to work really well in synergy together, but you need to be taught, because the one thing you've got to invest in life is you. So here are my notes, and I've written one word on the back of every one of them. So I read through my notes before I started, And I tried to summarize each page, and guess what? I did it in permanent marker, and it came through the paper. So here's my first set of notes, and I wrote on the back of that, fear. What stops us from stepping into this creative space and standing up and saying, do you know what? I'm going to start doing something different, like Banksy did. I'm going to start doing something different. I'm going to be a bit of a maverick, a bit of a renegade, but I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to find out how to make money that will enable me to use my area of genius to create multiple income streams and create wealth for myself. What stops us is fear, because most creative women, and I'm talking to you creative women, yeah, because that's who I work with. I'm not discounting men, but I work with women. That's my choice. I've worked with men all of my life, choosing now to work with women because I think there's so much talent, so much genius, and so much skill that is wasted in the female creative community. And what's holding you back is fear. I understand that because it held me back. Yeah, I could tell you a million stories of how many times I've said, I will go out and buy all the art equipment and start painting again when I've reached this point, or when I've done this. Or there's always an excuse, and there was always a barrier for me starting now. And what held me back was fear. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of being judged by other people, because it's really tough to put your creative, not everybody. I did a live on Sunday where I was painting that. Not everybody is going to like my work. Not everybody's going to like me. It's going to irritate some people with my voice, with my messy hair, with the fact that I've turned up in this shirt that I've just been asleep in, with my big microphone that's at the front here. I'm going to irritate some people, and not everybody's going to like what I do. That doesn't matter. I am painting that painting for one person. When I'm doing it, I'm painting it for one person. But there's a fear, an underlying fear there when you are doing that, when you are creating something from your heart and soul, when you've imagined and worked with people to create an image that you are then putting to canvas and finishing off and going to have this great big finished piece at the end of it that you know you need to price at about £2,000 because of the hours that have gone into it. I'm painting it for one person. I don't know where that person is in the world. Somewhere in the billions of people out there in the world, there's one person that painting will resonate with, and they'll want it and they will pay for it. I don't know who they are right now. So there's a fear of, I'm going to do this work and I don't know how I'm going to make money from it. I understand that. I have stepped into that fear in the last year. I've stepped into that fear because the joy I get from creating is bigger than my own fear. It's taken me 30 years, mind. It has, being realistic here. It's taken me 30 years to take back my power and step into that place of fearlessness. And I don't want it to take that long for other women because there's too much talent out there. So here's the next thing I wrote on the back of my notes in blue permanent marker. It's gone through the paper because this is how I felt when I was working for somebody else. So I was restricted in my income by somebody else paying me a salary. I felt trapped by that. Even when I had my own businesses, and that was more freeing, I picked something safe instead of stepping out into my area of genius because of fear. So I felt trapped. Fear was holding me back. And here's the other two pieces of notes. I've got so many notes here. I wrote on here, comparison. I've talked about that. I was frightened of being compared to others that were perceived to be better than me, because believe me, those people who paint beautiful landscapes and pretty pictures of dogs are admired far more than people like me that are painting emotional scenes that have been experienced by women. Not everybody wants that on the wall. So I'm always going to be compared to somebody else, but I decided to get over myself and get over that and get the images out of my head that were sitting in there. And then there's the inequality, the statistics that tell me that even when I step out of my fear and into my area of genius, I'm up against a level of inequality that exceeds the norm in society, that men are always going to be paid more money and more successful. So you're then up against, how am I going to succeed? There are so many, this is this subtle set of sabotaging beliefs set by society and enforced upon us within the creative community without our permission. Because, and here are some of the stats that you're going to get over the rest of the week. I've got to find them first. Yeah. Did you know that the most expensive work sold by a woman artist at auction, which was Georgia O'Keeffe's Jimson Weed, sold for, in 2014, 44.4 million. Yeah. Almost 400 million less than Leonardo da Vinci's Salvador Mundi painting. That's the difference between the most successful female artist and the most successful male. It's 400 million. That's the difference. The inequality is vast. It's a hell of a scary area to step into. So most of you are running away to the hills now saying, oh my God, if I wasn't scared enough before, Mandy's just scared the living daylights out of me. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. It really doesn't have to be like that, because what I've discovered in the last year is that if you apply normal business strategy that works, which I've had 3 very successful businesses, and apply that strategy to your product or service and work with that strategy of creating multiple income streams that are synergized with everything, then you've got a chance of having a successful business and creating wealth, because you are being an entrepreneur and not just painting pictures. There's a difference. So let's talk about, how you do that. And obviously it's too big a subject and it's too difficult. If it was that easy for me to tell you how to do that, you'd all be running off with your pens and paper and creating that for yourselves. It's not that easy. It's a process. And if you start at the wrong place in the process, you set yourself up for failure. It's a process where you have to follow a step-by-step process. It's a step-by-step process, and you have to start at a certain point and work your way up. Otherwise, you have to do that with every business strategy in every single business, because if you think of it like a ladder, if you try and jump to rung 5 of a ladder, you've got several risks. You might not be able to jump that high, so you might fall and hurt yourself. Yeah, jumping up to rung 5 might actually break that rung of the ladder and break all the ones underneath it, and you end up with nothing other than some rungs that you can't reach. So it's a process when you are thinking like an entrepreneur, and it's a strategy. So what I've spent the last year and a half, in fact the last 30 years actually, but I've been in business for myself for 10 years, but for the last year and a half, I've been working out how to put and apply a business strategy to my creative genius. And to help me fine-tune that and get that really right, last year I hired a premium business coach to help me. So together we have managed to put the business idea into a polished, finished product. Now that business idea is that it is possible to create multiple income streams within a brand. And you are your brand. And as the creative person, people will not buy your paintings without knowing you. And that's the starting point. So I'm here every single Tuesday live talking to you, even if there's nobody there. I'll then share this onto my group, onto YouTube, into my personal page to reach as many people as possible, to reach as many of you starving artists that are not earning your worth, ladies, that are hiding in little workshops or cottages in the Highlands or cottages in the Welsh borders, yeah, wherever you are in the UK, wherever you are in the world, I'm speaking to you. Because it's possible to step out of your fear and into entrepreneurship, because that's what you need to become if you want to be successful. Because you could have spent years, and I mean years, wishing for the day, hoping for the day when someone's going to come along into your little studio, into your little shop, or into the shop that sells your products for you and buy everything, and you're going to have a wad of money. And if that did happen, it would happen once, and then you'd have to create all of those things again. So how would you live in the meantime? If you didn't have multiple income streams bringing in money for you, how would you live? Think about that. So when I work with creative women, and hopefully Kerry will drop on here, who I'm working with at the moment, and the only reason I'm mentioning Kerry is because she mentions me all the time, and she's quite prevalent on social media saying that we're working together. And what I will do is challenge your thinking. I'll challenge your thinking as an entrepreneur. So from one entrepreneur to another wannabe entrepreneur, I'll challenge your thinking until you start to come up with alternative ideas, different ways of thinking that are linked to your product or service that will help you to create multiple income streams, still allowing you to be in your area of genius, but helping you to think. Then I help you to put a business strategy in place. But first, I work on your mindset, because every business mindset is 90% of every single business. If you start with mindset and deal with your confidence issues and your limiting beliefs and all of those things first, and then create and build a really substantial vision, and I force you to actually put a monetary value to that vision and tell me how much you want to earn to give you your perfect life. Don't force you. I don't push you up against a wall and beat you up into a pulp until you do that. But I encourage you and help you to be able to create that vision by using several different methods. So I don't just do it once. We work in several different ways to get you to the perfect vision of where you want to be with your business. And then and only then, when we've worked on your confidence issues, your limiting beliefs, the things that have held you back historically, the beliefs that you have, these subtle set of sabotaging beliefs that society has imparted on you as a member of the creative community that has been forced upon you against your will, once we've worked on those and we've got rid of those, I open your mind to all sorts of possibilities. And then and only then do we put in a rock solid business strategy step by step that takes you to your end game. And your end game is having passive income, multiple income streams, and monetizing your area of genius in the right way that will then result in additional income streams. That might sound massive to you because perhaps you've not thought about it in an entrepreneurial, business structured type of way before, because you are a creative. And that's not how you think naturally. What I have done is learned to think naturally like an entrepreneur. And until you can bring that to the party, then starving artist syndrome is going to continue to live within inside you. Nobody wants this syndrome. Nobody. I had it for way too long. Now, I wasn't a starving artist. I was earning good money in my businesses, but they were safe businesses. They were not inspiring me. Don't get me wrong, I had a great business partner in my last business. I loved what I was doing, but there was this void, this place I knew I needed to go to. And once I stepped back into it, I was never going to step out again. Because no one understands the creative soul like another creative soul. You're a bit weird and wacky. You think differently, very, very differently, but that's your superpower. That is your superpower. And what I work with you on is actually accepting that the things that you criticize yourself the most for are actually the things that are your real skills. These are your superpowers. Would it be my superpower? I mean, God, do you know what? I used to go to work in a suit. When I worked in Summerfield as a divisional executive, I used to go to work in a suit with a briefcase in a Mercedes, all right? The completely, utterly typical businesswoman look. That was me. Can you imagine me doing that? Literally, those of you that know me, and I don't see anybody here, so I'm talking to myself at the minute, but if you're watching this on replay or somewhere else, please put a comment in to say, can you imagine me turning up in a suit with high heels and a briefcase, my hair all tidy, in a Mercedes? Can you? I can't even remember being that person, but that was me fitting into this society's expectation of what I should do to earn money and provide for my family. Because I was never going to do it as an artist because of these sabotaging beliefs that have been imparted on the creative community. They are ingrained, they're deep-rooted, they're difficult. And if you don't believe me, creativity is like a tree or a plant. That's what creativity is like. To have creativity, that's what it's like inside of you. Now, if that tree or plant does not receive water and nutrients, it's going to die. So every day I put my suit on and did my hair and picked up my briefcase and my mobile phone that was hands-free in the car so I could work in the car, and jumped into my Mercedes to drive to work. Something died inside of me. And it was the creative root that was inside of me that was not being nurtured. And I left it for so long that I didn't even know whether I had the ability to do it anymore. I didn't know whether that still lived inside of me. And I didn't know whether I still had that area of talent because I hadn't even explored it, not once. I used it in a different way. I used it in creative thinking and coming up with great ideas in the business. And I was very successful as a leader in business because I could think differently and out of the box. And I was different to your average manager, divisional executive. I was different. I actually quite liked that. But that's the part of me that I like as a creative. I like the fact that I love Led Zeppelin and that you always see Jimmy Page on my wall there. And if I turn my laptop that way, without making my paper, you should see Robert Plant. There we go. It's painted by a friend of mine, so I support other artists. So I liked the fact that in my studio, it's not a nice white background with great lighting and I'm not turned up all polished. I just get out of bed, comb my hair, and here I am, oops, with my big microphone that keeps falling over. Here I am. This is what you see. This is what you get. But that's the creative in me. I used to drive a Volkswagen Beetle with flowers on and wear paint splattered dungarees, and I had an Afghan coat and crimped hair. That was me. And that had been lost for so many years in that suit and in that Mercedes. And yes, do you know what? I earned a great living. I earned great bonuses. I was an exceptionally good manager and leader. Many people on my Facebook who I've got as friends used to work with me as colleagues. They may remember me. They may have good words to say about me. Some of them will have really bad words to say about me, but then I question why they're still here. Just delete me if you don't like me. But that's fine. I've always been a bit Marmite, and I am today. Now, that's what I want to find in you, creative ladies. I want that weird, that wacky, that creative soul that's got a bit of rebel in them and a bit of maverick in them, that's prepared to step out of their fear and into their power and become an entrepreneur. Because the minute you do that, we change the world. And you'll see throughout my post this week that my theme is, and I think I said it wrong on Sunday. I think I said it was Buddha, but it was the Dalai Lama that was at a conference in Canada, I think, several years ago, that said the world will be changed by the Western woman. The world will be changed by the Western woman. The solution to the world's problems lies with the Western woman. Why? Because he knows that when women step into their power, and you, creative lady, when you step into your power and you take the creativity inside of you and you become an entrepreneur instead of just a painter or a potter or an upholsterer, you have the power to change the world. Because when women are wealthy, when women become wealthy, they reinvest their wealth into society in a completely different way. They reinvest it into their families. They secure their families. They reinvest it into other women because they recognize the importance of investing in other female entrepreneurs, because they see, they get it. They get where this is going. And that's why I have chosen to be an artist, an author, and a coach, an educator of women, a business coach that helps creative women to launch or develop, if they've got an underperforming business, their creative business, so that they can make more money and become wealthy. Because creative women becoming wealthy is good for society. Forget the sabotaging beliefs that have been forced upon us. Forget this deep-rooted generation to generation message that's being passed on about creative people cannot have wealth unless they are in the tiny 1 or 2% at the very top that are in the performing arts or the arts, the fine arts academies that are going to be doing portraits of the Queen and making that. Those are the people that make money. Banksy broke that mold, but where's the female Banksy? There is a group of, I'm going to introduce you at the end of the week to a group of female mavericks called the Guerrilla Girls. They're ace, absolutely ace, and they are trying to break the mold, but it's like a little small voice there. More women need to take back their power. More creative women need to step into entrepreneurship and learn how to do it, because my goodness, what a powerhouse that's going to be when those women decide to step into that power. But I know you're hiding. I know that you're hiding in your little sheds or in your cottages. We're away out in the wilds of Scotland, or wherever you are. And I know that you're frightened. And I know that it's really difficult to make the decision to invest in you so that you can become the entrepreneur you need to be the wealthy and successful woman that you need to be. And I can't force you to change that. I just want you to know that it's possible and that I am your example. I have in 12 months. So let me tell you what I've done in the last 12 months. And there's a post coming this week to remind you about all of this. In the last 12 months, I have binned a successful financial services business. I have stopped doing it in order to follow my dream. And in doing that, I have opened up the universe to all sorts of things. I am working on my 5th painting in a series on women and empowerment, which will ultimately end up in an exhibition somewhere with more to it. It's going to be a big exhibition. I've got big visions for this. So that's going to happen. I've written a book. I've got another 2 books planned and a series of children's books. So I published a book last year. I'm on my 5th painting. I left a business. I've launched my creative business. I had a client signed to that business before I even launched it. I've been invited to be interviewed on Fox TV in September in the States. So Morning Breeze Television on a segment called Women of Influence. I would not have done that if I hadn't opened myself up and shown up on social media and been open to change and become an entrepreneur. I have transformed my life completely. I bought my house for cash last year, changed my life. And now I am on a mission this year to change the lives of hundreds of other women. It's amazing what you can do in a year. I am also involved in an absolutely amazing project that I can't give you too much information about yet, but it's amazing. And it's about women. It's about women entrepreneurs, and it's about women entrepreneurs in the Northeast. And all I'm going to say to you is get ready to rise. That's your little teaser tonight on that one. So there's lots going on. Oh, and by the way, I was published in Thrive Global yesterday, and I'm actually writing my second article for Thrive Global now because I've had feedback saying they'd like more articles on creativity. Guess what? There's a huge gap in the market. So starving artist syndrome does not have to define you, ladies. It does not have to define you, because I've just said something there. There's a huge gap in the market. People are realizing the benefits of creativity on mental health. They are seeing the possibilities of creativity in the business world. Women are coming forward and starting to change their lives. Don't go and do the wrong business. Do the right business. Do what your true calling is, but do it properly. Learn to be an entrepreneur. This is the way that we are going to change this planet, by women stepping forward and becoming entrepreneurs. The top 1% of the population does not have to be the most wealthy men in the world. We need to step into that space. We need to, as a creative community, step into that space and take what is ours, because believe me, there is enough abundance. There is enough money. What's missing, and this is the teaching part, what's missing is the understanding of the strategy for you to be able to move from where you are to where you want to be. And that, ladies, is available. You have to decide that that is what you want to do and invest in yourself. That's my message on starving artist syndrome. Now, if that's what you want to do, if you are that person that's been sitting in the background, that's ready to change their wealth, that's ready to change the abundance in their life, that's ready to take control and create an amazing creative business with multiple income streams, and you just don't have a clue how to do it, there's a link in the text at the top. I think it's at the top of this post. I don't know where it is when it's actually on the page. There's a link in there. It says click here to book your discovery call. Click there and book your free discovery call with me, and we can talk through for 45 minutes, because that's how long a discovery call takes. We can talk through what your current strategy is, what your current product or service is, and whether I think you have the potential to have an abundant, wealthy, creative business. And also whether you and I are a fit, because not everybody likes everybody, not everybody connects, not everybody wants to work with everybody. It doesn't work like that. You don't just go out and say, I'll work with that coach. You have to resonate with the person. You have to resonate with their message. You have to listen to what they've got to say, get to know them, understand where they've come from and understand where they are now before you are ready to work with somebody. All I know is that I know how to help other creative women to move their business from where they are now, even if it's nothing, even if it's just an idea. My 12-month signature program can take it from an idea, from an underperforming business, into something that's going to be successful. How do I know? Because I've done it. That's how I know. I know because I left everything else behind that was working to do what I loved, and it's working. That's how I know. So if that sounds something like you want to do, if you are that person that's ready, click that link, book your call. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't let fear get hold of you. Don't let it grip you. Now, I don't normally sell on my lives. I don't normally say book a call. I normally just give you information every week and turn up and do a training. And that's what I've done tonight. I'm so passionate about changing this creative space for the better that tonight I wanted to include a call to action in there for you to actually take control and take that first step. And it might take you another 6 months of watching me yet, and that's okay. I'm not going to come around your house and beat you up, honestly. I just wanted to put it there as an option for anybody that was sitting on the fence and was almost ready, because I know I can help you. I want you to come in to the program. I want you to invest in yourself so that you can have all the things you really want, because you deserve it. In the words of L'Oreal, you are worth it. And I'm not being cheesy there. Honestly, if you don't invest in yourself and you don't make the decision to do it, it's never going to change. You're going to continue to get what you've always got. Told you I was still half asleep. Anyway, whether there's any of you there or not, I still can't see. So I'm really sorry if any of you has been saying anything, if anybody's been waving at me. I'm not ignorant. I love you all. I want to interact with you. I'll be happy, even if you're sitting in the background scared to say anything. Do it on replay. Watch this back. Put your message in and I will respond to you. I want to talk to you. I want to not just be talking. I want to interact with you and answer questions, because that's how you get answers. And that's what I'm here for. So thank you for listening. I am very grateful for you listening to me once again this Tuesday evening. And I will be back next Tuesday evening. And next week, I know what I'm talking about. All week next week, I'm always a week in advance planned. Next week, all week, I am talking about planning and productivity and how to be a master planner like me. And I'm going to leave you with that thought. Have a wonderful evening. Have an amazing week. Join me every day with all my posts, and please interact and make comments and ask questions. Make it the week that you ask a question. I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful night.